that is the way forward. We must continue to preach blessings and, of course, declare blessings into this great nation, Nigeria, into the lives of every citizen of this great nation, Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. A lot of people will say that God is a Nigerian. Why do we say this? This is because we have everything that we need to succeed and be the envy of other great nations of the world. 57 years of our journey to nationhood. It started just like a child's play. It went through a debate, tough debate, as regards to why Nigeria should actually attain independence from her colonial master, that is Britain. But of course, what started as a motion for independence then culminated into the actual independence on October 1st, 1960. Since then, from the 1st to the 2nd, the 3rd and 4th Republic, we've had several situations, several challenges that have almost pushed us off the precipice. If we go down the memory lane, there are so many things that we need to be thankful for, and at the same time, there are so many things that we might look at with regret. But we must continue to move forward, continue to think about how we can make Nigeria realize her potential and, of course, fulfill her dreams. That is what we're looking at this morning, still in the spirit of our 57th independence anniversary. What used to be, what was the Nigeria of old, and of course, what lessons can we draw from the then Nigeria. We have someone going to qualify to look at this in the studio. I'm talking of no one else but Oba Olufemi Ogunleye, the Towulade of Akinale. You're welcome to the Daybreak Show, Kabiyesi.
Good morning, thank you very much.
Good morning and welcome.
Kabiyesi.
Okay, Tobi, before we go on,
Yes.
people will tell you that 57 years, what have we achieved? What is there to celebrate? But we have a whole lot to celebrate. How far so far? The journey so far?
Well, Kabiyesi, that's a question.
That's a question for you.
Well, it will be unfair to us and to the Almighty who creates all of us to say that we haven't had any good thing in the last 57 years. I've been a very, very small or young fellow when we had independence. I was in my second year in secondary school. I've traveled far and wide within and outside Nigeria to be able to say today that irrespective of also our wishes, where I wanted to be, our forefathers, our past generation, our current generation have done their very best to do some few things that we can be proud of it today, that at least we have made some inroads.
Let's go back in history, Kabiyesi. While you were growing up, the nostalgia that greeted the motion for independence and eventual declaration of independence for Nigeria in 1960. What was it like?
Quite memorable. The nostalgia was there. Well, as a small boy in the primary school in those days, we hardly understood the nitty-gritty of the expectation of an independence, but at least from the point of being a school child, the dressing, the preparation, the flags, the sandals they were bought, waiting for March past for independence, those were kind of things that at least we enjoyed, and we felt happy that we are going to have independence, to see that either the Queen or the English Prime Minister was going to leave us alone, and we were looking forward to seeing people like Baba Awolowo then. We heard of Awolowo, we heard of people like Adelabu. I mean, when I'm talking about people like us in the Western region. So, and locally here in Abeokuta, I heard of people like Oyalowo, like Adebiro, like so many that were looking for that they are going to be in charge of governing us. So we're very happy. We're looking forward to seeing them.
Okay, you talked about while you were growing up, looking forward to the independence. As a student, you have to get a clean sandal, your white socks for getting set for the march past. Okay, let's look at Nigeria then and now. Do we have any difference so far?
Quite a lot, quite a lot. A lot of things have changed. Maybe there is an advantage in development and disadvantage in development, because a lot of things has eroded into our culture and the values that we had in those days. When before independence, I remember one particular case which today gives me the glamour of being a journalist. Right in my primary school, the political crisis in the in the old former Western region those days, metamorphosed into series of activities. And that was a man, that was an old man, Adelabu, Adeoka Adelabu. I think he was in the opposing party in the Western region, NCNC as I thought. And here was an accident. He died around 1958 or thereabout. When he died in a motor accident, because he was a very strong opposition man in Western region, there were a lot of insinuations as to whether the accident was prearranged or whatever happened. So there was crisis, the Wild West of those days. And so a lot of opinions were going on. Then, as a primary school boy in Akinale, on one afternoon, one young fellow came on the field. We were about leaving the usual morning devotion to go into the classes. Then one young fellow in the short knicker just stood akimbo before my headmaster. And a teacher in our village in those days, it was like God, because when a teacher was coming, you had to look several years away and make sure you run away, you don't miss with him. Now here was my own headmaster, who will look as a demigod, so to say, when one young small boy like that just stood akimbo before him and was asking questions. We didn't know. So when the pastor came back to our class, joyfully said, "No, I've been talking to a reporter." A reporter? Well, we didn't know what was a reporter. I didn't know what it was. We asked ourselves, reporter. So we didn't know anything. But 2 weeks after that incident, our headmaster again came back to the class with a copy of Sunday Times. I said, "You boys, do you know that young boy who was talking to me 5 days ago? This report he wrote about me, quoting my headmaster with everything. See, that's the job of a reporter. This boy, you know." Then I was very, very excited because I put myself back. That boy didn't write anything. I didn't see him writing anything now that day. And it was so, maybe he was writing, I didn't know. Maybe because I was just feeling that as a small boy was like, but I said, "Sir, how can we become a reporter?" The man said, "You people have to go to school, you have to read very well. To be a reporter, you have to read well." And I made on that day, well, if opportunity comes, I'd like to be a reporter. Today I am.
Now, when you look at the opportunities, the myriad of opportunities that were present in the Nigeria of old, and you compare with what obtains now, how do you feel? What exactly do you think created the loss of these opportunities, or why, if not the total loss, but why has it become so scarce now?
I don't know what really happened. I think we just missed the chance. In the days of the parliamentary system, when the Western region was being led by Chief Olufemi and the Eastern by Sekweleta Bara, Midwest by whatever I can't remember now. There was even competition among the regions to see that we do something, but somehow the incursion of the military, which was perhaps as a result of the crisis that emanated from the Western region, I think we didn't manage that crisis very well. The lack of management of that crisis led to the military incursion, and since the military came in, they were never trained to be astute politicians. They were purely military as they were supposed to be, and that really created a problem for us. That is the beginning of the crisis that we have today. Baba Olufemi may so rest in peace. I thought, looking back now, if Baba did not show keen interest in wanting to be a federal officer or prime minister of Nigeria. By now, the noise we are making about either the structure or regionalism shouldn't be happy, because Western region should have been a star for the entire country today. If I look at the president of Western Nigeria, everything he wanted to do will have been done, and we will have taken off more than what we think we are today. So those are we just missed the steps that time. The crisis, the military, and when the military came, then it eroded into individual homes, culture, values, and that kind of thing, which created this problem for us today.
Okay, sir, would you classify Nigeria as a developed country, or we're not near it yet?
Well, it is again developed or developing. They are all relative terms. The way I see them, to some extent, if we knew what we had in those days and what we are having now, we are developed. I may not know many places, but let me paroka a bit. I know Abeokuta. The street between my house in Totoro is a very narrow street like this, that it will be very difficult for two vehicles to even meet at a time. But today, whether it is longer years or shorter years, today the thing has developed. If I'm coming here at this morning, let me tell you exactly. I left Akinale exactly 8:15, and I was calling with my driver that, look, I have a program by 9 a.m. Why we leave? So the man said we will be there on time. Surprisingly, we left Akinale by 8:15, passing through all the whatever on the road. Took off the express. I call it express now. Express road from OPL.
Yeah.
Straight direct to this place. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's a lot of development, and it's not here alone. The governor has done good things here, but go to Ibadan, go to other places that I've seen. It has changed. To say that we are developing or we are not developed is a misnomer.
Okay, sir, something else. You have witnessed this 57 years, if I'm not mistaken, the 57 years of Nigeria as of today. What would you say it has been like?
Well, like we've been saying, it's for those of us who have passed through so many odysseys of life. First, we thank God. I keep on telling my friends, when I was some few years back celebrating birthday, I thought it's more of calendar than myself. I thought I was really small boy. The calendar said I was older than what I thought I am. It's been tough. At the same time, it's been rewarding. When I look at my life, leaving school and having the opportunity of getting outside this region that we are, I was in the north. I knew what it was, and in those days there are so many series of regional regulations made for the region to develop and to compete among each other. We may call them discrimination, but I think it was for the various regions to know where they are going and see what they do. I worked in the north, and certain jobs I couldn't get because I was not a northerner. Then they had what they call notation policy for you to get a specific job. And I'll tell you, when I was one of the nucleus staff of the New Nigerian newspapers in 1966. When I was to be employed, they may not tell me directly that because I was still a northerner, but at least they gave me a job. Instead of giving me a direct reporting job, or as a staff reporter, I was employed as what they call a lineage correspondent. Lineage correspondent meant that each story you wrote and published will be counted by lines. If it's front page stories, it's 3 pence per line. If it's back page, 2 pence per line. Inside page is 1 penny. Tell me how many pennies you want to read before you can take 10 pounds in a month or 12 pounds. But then, again, it might be a disadvantage for me coming from the south, but it was a great advantage for me to think deeply and work harder. Because the more stories I wrote, the more stories that I wrote that got published, the more money I would get. And sometimes they say that when I discovered that I needed to do some economics for myself, I engaged myself in writing sports stories. Not ordinary sports stories. I was writing entire sports stories. So I became a specialist. Every school needed to invite me to come and cover their entire sport, because it was better for me. Once I wrote that House A won a shield or House B didn't win shield, or something, I'm going to put detailed result, the races. And there's no way the supervisor will cut those races away from the story to make it meaningful. and so I get more lines and I get more money. You see, so that's just it. And so they discovered later that I was even earning more money than the staff salary, the staff reporter who had a structured salary. Those are the things that happened in those days. And negatively, this time in this 57 years after independence, I'm taking one profession. It's not happening in journalism today. The elements of hard work, the creativity, the thinking, the vision of a reporter, I don't see it again this time around. Again, we'll say technology and some other things has eroded into it, but that's just the point. So if I take that profession alone and look at it, you can see where I'm coming from and how it has been.
Okay, we are past the golden jubilee now. We're 57 years old and we'll clock 70, 100. What do you envisage for the future?
There's a brighter future for us, no doubt about that. I'm not among those who are very skeptical about things. Nigeria has potentials for very beautiful developments. And take it or leave it, we are passing through stages, politicians and all that, but we are going to reach a very good place. Either we restructure or they devolve power or whatever they do, there is a sign that Nigeria has a greater future.
Is restructuring the best bet for Nigeria?
Okay, before we go to restructuring, let's still go back. Let's still go down memory lane. That is a very important topic that Chienye brought up. But before that, Kabisi, you were one of the first sets of journalists in Nigeria. You worked with the Daily Times, if I'm correct. Now, if you look at how the Daily Times was established, the role it played in molding opinions, in championing the cause of the Nigerian nationhood, and how journalism was practiced then, like you've talked about, how do you feel when you see that the Daily Times is not as it used to be?
First of all, I wouldn't be one of the first set of journalists in this country. There are peers, there are many people who have come before me. But I thank God that at least, now that I'm talking of past years, I started longer years ago.
Yes.
It's a pity that everything that we had, not even Daily Times alone, good things that we had in this country, out of pure mismanagement and disorganizations, we have lost them. And not only Daily Times, I mean, I work with Nigeria with, if you remember.
Yes, I know you were the group public relations manager.
When I was going to Nigeria with, I thought I would spend only 6 months. That's what I had in mind at that time, because somebody invited me. Somebody with whom I had met and worked as a Daily Times correspondent in Kano came back to Lagos and became the Minister for Aviation. So obviously he knew where I've come by and he gave me an appointment. So my editor at that time didn't want me to go to leave Daily Times, and I begged them that let me go, let me spend 6 months, I'll come back. So I had a hope of coming back to Daily Times in 6 months, but I ended up spending 25 years in Nigeria with. What happened to Daily Times happened to Nigeria with, happened to the shipping line, happened to, forget about whatever action of the government, there's mismanagement. There are politics of the PhD that they call it, the polynomial system. Well, I think we needed it again if we are developing. Now they begin to see it. They begin to see that all those things, you change in life, and then you change from rat race and make sure that you do something properly well. Daily Times was very good. We had people like Alhaji Joseph who spent all his best time. Alhaji Joseph, Jebaba Name, Jaja, quite a number of nice people. In the contemporary period, my past editor, Shegun Shoba, is good. Henry Dukubaya, Ari Ebola, a lot of other people, they did very well, but just little snap that made the whole thing to get to where it was. Because I remember, I think it was the Murtala Mohammed coup that created some suffocation, so to say, for us in the Daily Times. Because my Oga, Shegun was one of the best reporters we ever had in this country. Fantastic reporter that he was in those days. He got a good story, and the story changed the whole course of what we had in throughout the day. And because of the wish of the then owners of the data, they thought Segun should be compensated for the best stories he got. Whether that was the right decision or not, we will not know. But it created a problem for the editors, and that's what started the editors. Editors were removed, managers were removed. Segun was promoted ahead of other people, and that kind of thing came. Some of us left the editors, and then today, by the time hands were changing, people came with different ideas. Dayton had a lot of people are just seeing Dayton as a newspaper. Dayton had a lot of property. People had series of other companies making good money. But those who came later, they were looking after what hard money they would get, and they sold all those things. They sold it away. And so the paper was of no value any longer. The same thing happened to Nigeria Airways. Nigeria was the largest, the most surviving of African airlines generally in this part of the world. And we were making our way to make sure that we did well. But somehow, business people who were interested not only in airline flying, but in the vast property of Nigeria Airways, they sold junks to government. They sold bad information to government and make sure that they liquidated the airline. Because if the airline was not liquidated, private person could, if you want to send it out to private to manage, it could still be on to do it. But they liquidated it. But in the liquidation, those who are interested in the property, if you know Lagos, from Bishop Viney Church at the Keja, throughout to the Lagos Country Club on the Bakantoni Way, that vast land belongs to Nigeria Airways. And you can imagine property on it. Not only in Lagos, in Kano. In fact, when I joined Nigeria Airways, the first house allocated to me was a duplex on 1 acre of land at Ikoyi. And I told the man who gave me the house, what do you see that was different between me yesterday when you knew me as a reporter in data and today that I should occupy the second house? He said the house was meant for my office. I said, I'm sorry. I came from a village, and truly I come from a village. My mother will enter 7 kind of transport to locate me when he was coming to see me. Because I'm working for government. So, no, I can't live. Let me go and live in the Agege where he will stop bus and stop motor. And that's why I didn't live in that house. I did not. Well, anybody would have loved to live in that kind of affluence. But it was a good decision I didn't live in that house, because when I was leaving Nigeria Airways, I moved into my house. A number of my colleagues who were in government house, even the air you will breathe belongs to government. The water you will take, your globe burnt, they will change the globe. So you had the horrendous feeling that you have arrived when you have not taken off. Those are what killed us.
Now, that's very, very, very good recount of what exactly happened then. Kabisi, Nigeria Airways is a sad story. If we look back. Now, when this administration came into power, they mooted the idea of resuscitating the national carrier. Why has that been difficult for us to do?
Well, the matter of national carrier is very interesting. Today, without a national carrier, Nigerians is suffering. We may not know. I had experience recently. I was to go to England, and I paid 581,000 naira to buy ticket to go to London. It's nauseating. It's annoying. I can't believe it. That's what Nigerians will suffer, because there's no reciprocity from a foreign airline coming to Nigeria and a Nigerian flag carrier to retaliate for whatever thing they do right. In those days when Nigeria Airways was on, British Airways could only fly here at the very frequency at which Nigeria Airways flies into their country. All the routes Nigeria Airways spent time and money and energy to develop is what Emirates, BA, KLM, Virgin, that's what they're enjoying today free of charge. But it's like throwing the bath water and the baby away when they sold off Nigeria, because it was not necessary. So now the government, I think a number of people in the government have seen the fault to say for us to enjoy the benefits of bilateral air services agreements between one country and the other, or particularly between Nigeria and other countries, we should have a flag carrier. Airline operators who are in private business, they will tell you different story because they want to corner the thing to themselves and they cannot make it because there is no enough thing for them. They have no power. They have no what I call it ability to synergize with other airlines to get it. Unless we have a national carrier who will use the national color to synergize with other national carrier all over, and then have a way of connecting in international flights and then create good business for the country. So it's good if they can do it. If they can, it's very good. But again, government has no business in business. I do not support the idea of government running any airline or any business for that matter. Infrastructure and all necessary things to be done should be put on ground for private participation in business.
So, Kabisi, that means you would be in support of concessioning of many of these national assets to private.
No, you don't mix up. Concession is different from government owning it. Concession is giving to private organizations to run business. That's what I'm saying. That's very good. I'm happy. I just had news that the government is doing that on the Murtala Mohammed Airport now, which is very good if they can do it. Because look at the Terminal 2, which is the private, which is domestic airport. When some few years ago it was given to private company anyway, we were all making noise. But today is better run, better managed. The facades, the infrastructure, everything is super. So, but for as long as the government, it won't be what we want it to be. Look at the Murtala Mohammed Airport today. When it was being opened in 1979, I think at the time Baba was handing over, when President Obasanjo was handing over, they opened the airport. I tell you one funny story. They wanted to impress the man that day, and the computer system changed the writings on the wall. Welcome to this flight taking to Abeokuta. They put on the screen. It's okay, everybody clapped. But that thing took almost 12 years there before we make noise. I remember writing so many things in the newspaper in those days to say, please, for goodness sake, change this thing. There's no flight going to Abeokuta. You only made this into South Africa when he came that day. But what I'm trying to say is that we do things because we felt that's how it should be done. The Murtala Mohammed Airport is 1/10 of Schiphol Airport. When the government wanted to develop the airport for us, they went and invited NACO. NACO is a national Netherlands aviation company from Netherlands. Netherlands perhaps studied us in this country and didn't bother to even invite any Nigerian expert or any Nigerian professionals, be they engineers, be they aviator, be anything, to ask them the input or they thought should be put in such a structure. And they just put about 1/10 of the structure in Schiphol. If you go to Amsterdam today, Schiphol Airport is about 1/10 of what is there today. And so what happened? They established the airport for us, airtight, put central air conditioner in a tropical region where there's no good power, where everything. And so for almost 10 years or 12 years or more than that, the central air conditioners were not working, where you could easily have opened the windows and let air cross ventilator in the system. Yes, that's right. That's there. But the major thing that touches me, which I want to tell you to know today, the conveyor belt bringing passengers' baggage from the aircraft passed through 3 layers. And so when you are in the arrival hall, when the baggage are put on the conveyor belt, you hear jiggy, you wait as if something is happening, but somebody is 3 layers down, because they were the laborers who participated in the building of the airport. They knew the route of the conveyor belt, and they use long stick to poach the belt of the conveyor belt. Then your luggage you drop to them. They open it. Sometimes when they open, they remove and put it back, or they even take it away. They even made a tunnel within the system. We didn't know this for years. A baggage will leave London on a flight that didn't stop anywhere. We didn't know what witch or what magic took the baggage away from the aircraft, and then we were busy paying compensation, busy sacking people to say their thing, whereas the thing is the structural deficiency in the system. Until when Pan Am or Sabena or one airline decided to employ human labor to be taking luggage directly from the aircraft to the arrival hall before we now begin to know what will happen and discover that area. Those are one deficiency. Because if you have put Nigerians into the structuring of the thing, you will know that in Amsterdam or in Europe for that matter, they're not cargo conscious. They're not. Their life pattern is different from our own. But Nigerians, no Nigerian is a tourist. Every Nigerian is a businessman or woman. You travel to UK, you spend your last kobo to buy goods and looking for Femi Ogunleye at the airport. Femo, my baggage, I have excess baggage. That's a system. There's nothing you can do. We tried everything possible. It didn't work. Even Nigerian government officials, they will prefer to fly with BA, and then when they are coming back home, all their baggage will come to Nigeria with, because they will have free access. So those are the kind of things that we feel. But like I said earlier, if they commit concession on the airport they are doing, there will be development. There is no need. There won't be this boy related to the one palm circle, or the palm circle comes one day, like one minister the other day, before he left, he just come to the airport and do whatever they want to do. That will not happen, and there will be proper development. I hope they do.
All right, Kabisi, it's always easy for us to put the blame and drop it on the laps of the military through their incursions and say that is why we are where we are. But some people believe that even our founding fathers, especially those who partook in the parliamentary system and the regionalism system of government that were practiced, did not do well enough in structuring this country as it should before they left the space. Who do we blame? Those who were civilians who knew exactly what was structurally wrong with Nigeria, or the military who centralized or unified the system?
Something is basically wrong with us, ab initio, right from the beginning. Don't forget that before we became, I'm a very proud Egba man, right? Because before Nigeria became Nigeria, we were running a federation government in Abeokuta, if you remember.
Yes.
Abeokuta was an independent country on its own, and we were running federation, because federation in the sense that there are Egba Alake, there are Egba Okeona, there are Egba Albagura, and there are Owu, there are Ijaye. And yet, there was a farm government, and they were doing everything possible. But when the British was going to amalgamate us, the British had their own interest. Our problem started with the British government. They had their own interest in how they wanted Nigeria to be, so they can continue to enjoy what they were enjoying. And you know that. We don't need to. Everybody knows that. What they did in the north. In fact, series of things that we are reading nowadays. You read often how some people, or one Englishman or so, said how he was manipulated, how he was asked to do things. Even if he doesn't say that, we know. If you go into the archives, you see so many things that they did. I just told you the story of North policy in the north in those days. They thought they wanted to develop the north by all means to make sure they can catch up with the south in terms of their education and everything, even employment system. I can say boldly that a number of those things really affected the system down here. It's not that people didn't know what they wanted to do, but the government that was running Nigeria before left us in that quagmire because they had their own reason for wanting it.
All right, if you just joined us, it's Citizens Forum on the Daybreak Show, this beautiful Monday morning. We're looking at our journey as a nation and as a people. 57 solid years of being an independent nation. We have in the studio Oba Olufemi Ogunleye, the Towulade of Akinale, a former journalist with the Daily Times, one of the early local journalists in Nigeria. And of course, the first set of Nigeria's public relations practitioners. He worked as the group managing public relations of the Nigerian Airways. And of course, one interesting thing that Kabisi added to his cap and a very new feather is that Kabisi bagged a law degree recently at the age of 73. Kabisi, that's a very, very great feat. What propelled you to do this?
Well, there's no barrier to learning anyway. When in the first instance, even becoming a king is another thing that people begin to wonder. But those who knew me in those days, I used to be a very restless kind of a reporter. Every moment I must be on the field to do things. And in fact, when I retired from Nigeria Ways, my plan was to return straight into my first constituency, which is reporting, and I got a job with Vanguard, and I was about enjoying it. But in my house in Lagos, when I reached home, when I wanted to do what I used to do in those days, starting on the typewriter at midnight to write something, there will be so much noise. There's a church not far away from my house. The man will put a loudspeaker, hallelujah. At 12 midnight, I got annoyed. I called Baba, this noise is too much. But I noticed that for as long as the maid complained, I would just be as a nuisance as he was. So, and I begged my wife to say, since we had a country home in Akinale, let's go to Akinale and stay there for the weekends. Then we can come back to Lagos on Sunday. And so we came. My coming to Akinale weekends to complete my own kind of journalistic assignment was what brought me to this kind of field. Only one day, people say, oh, we're waiting for you. Come in Bale. I said, I can't be. I gave them people. No, they said no. I ran away. I still came back. Anyway, that is the story of how I came there. So when I became Bale and eventually became an Oba, I faced a lot of mundane issues. This one stole yams, this one stole goats, this one stole somebody else's wife, all kind of funny stories that you can imagine. Although, not that they were strange per se, because as a reporter in those days, I've covered quite a number of such stories. So I now became a reality that, so really, this thing happens. And I had a cousin of mine at the Crescent University in Abeokuta. He worked with me as a young journalist when I had a paper before. I had a newspaper in Abeokuta here, the Village News in those days. I was probably in the Village News, so he worked with me as my editor. And he's now the head of MassCom at the Crescent University. I wanted to see how he was doing and to give him support. So I would be there to talk to the journalists being trained. Brought my friends to them, and I was enjoying it. I haven't been there for 1 or 2 times, 3 times, 4 times regularly. And I asked one day, if I was coming here regularly to talk to these guys and they were enjoying it, can't I read something in these premises? Then we asked, what do you want to read? I said, let's go around. So we went around and got to the law faculty and I saw them. I thought I could just play my hands to it, and I entered for the diploma. I finished. I had upper credit. I said, look, I see your material. You can't go. Come and ask for the title. That's what I did. And it's very interesting. The only thing I would say is that I have really enjoyed reading it. I thank God. I'm advised. In fact, I've been talking to quite a number of my friends. Do not sit idle. Go back to either university anywhere. Go and it's good to learn to read. But I've seen a lot of things. There are cases I take in the palace or at Oba's meetings that I noticed that my law knowledge has been so much. Plenty of issues. I mean, if you are in the palace anyway, they say one young boy is offensive. Say, hey, you slap somebody, you can't do that. That's a criminal. That's a crime. So because that fellow has his own rights. So, so those are the things that, as small as that, those are the kind of things that you learn. So
okay, on a lighter note, you look so young. Any special thing you're doing?
Thank you, my dear sister. I thought, and like I said earlier, when they say I was 70 at that time, 3 years ago, I thought it was calendar. I told them, to me, I don't know, but I thought it is calendar that's telling lies, but that's true. Well, I don't do much. I play golf and I enjoy myself. I think I've done enough when I was young, so I just relax. No longer doing things that.
Okay, all right, we'll get to talk more about all this, and of course you can start sending your contributions, comments or questions via the short code 32120, or you tweet your contributions at Rock City FM is our Twitter handle. We'll take a break now for the national news at 10. After that, we'll be back. KBC, Towulade of Akinale will still be here in the studio. Stay with us. Yes, indeed, Nigeria will be great and it will be better. And that is what we're looking at this morning. 57 years of our independence. What exactly has changed? What are the gains? What are the pains? So we go down memory lane. What exactly have we done wrong? What exactly have we done right? And of course, how can we avoid the mistakes of the past repeating itself in the future? That is what we're looking at this morning, and we have in the studio Oba Olufemi Ogunleye, the Towulade of Akinale. He was a journalist with the then Daily Times, and of course, the group public relations manager of the defunct Nigerian Airways. Well, Kabisi, before we enter that break, looking at a whole lot of issues. One thing that I want us to quickly look at before we accommodate the contributions of our callers is the way forward. We've pointed out so many things that have gone wrong, so many mistakes that we've made. The leadership deficits, the managerial capabilities of those that we've trusted with positions, and how they model things up, and so many other things. How can we move forward? How do we make sure that the Nigerian dream is fulfilled? It becomes a reality.
Well, like we said, we have to learn from the past mistakes that we've had. Again, if you talk about restructuring, which I don't want to start with, when we talk about restructuring, it's more of an elitist problem. People now I live in the village. The Bale, for first Monday of every month, I hold meetings with about 70 Bales from different villages in my local government. And these Bales, they don't know whether Buhari is the president or Abacha is whatever. They know Amosun is their government, and they want Amosun to do local roads for them in their villages, so they can move their products from the various farms to nearby markets and make money and enjoy themselves. So whether you devolve power or you reconstruct or you constitute, it does not touch them. So those who are making noise about whether the regulation or whatever, they are elitist people. The people in the village wants to see how their life can be better, how they can live well. And this is where, if anything is to be done at all, is the need for state government or regional government to empower their traditional rulers to be able to live very well within the system, because we are the last people to the grassroots. On a daily basis, as early as 6:30 a.m., my palace is filled of people, either people from the farms or people from the villages, one problem or the other, which the Obas in the town, they hardly even face those problems. The Obas are glamorous. They are, go to Alaki or Neba, go to Low, go to Bagura. Only people in the area will come, but go to the villages. You will see problems. Everybody's about that you have to cater for. You have to look for them. You have to solve their problems. And so there's need for government to think seriously about how to empower the local traditional rulers, be he be Bale, be the Oba there, so they can feel the impulse, they can feel that you are doing something in the state. That's the way I look at it. It's not a question of whether somebody wants to go to Abuja and be earning 10 million per month when the man in the village has not even eaten twice a day. You know.
Do you subscribe to the school of thought that we cannot move forward unless we tinker with the present system and structure?
Yes, to some extent, but again, in this country, I've noticed that every law is always good, depends on how you operate it. Whether the constitution is written by the military, or written by ourselves, or written by anybody, the operation of the constitution is the problem. The Bible says, don't kill, don't steal, don't fornicate, don't tell lies. Now it depends on when you tell lie, you go and meet a Catholic bishop in a cubic something and says, Baba, I've sinned. I mean, what is the you are confessing the sin, it does not mean that you should not go back. So operation of the thing is the problem. It's a problem. Just don't do what the law said you should not do. We'll be happy. So they might think, if that's what those who are leading us feels is necessary for them to be able to do, to feel their responsibility. Because the responsibility of the governor or the chairman of the local government is to make sure that people within where he rules are happy in terms of providing for them the infrastructure that will make them happy.
Okay, well, at this juncture, we have to open the studio lines 08044 or 0909 146 9670 and keep sending your messages via the short code 32120. First, you type rock, then you leave a space, type your message, include your name, and then you forward it to 32120. For the Twitter handle, tweet at RockCityFM and the Facebook fan page, Rock City 101.9 FM. Remember, it's 2 minutes and do not deviate from what we are looking at. Nigeria at 57, the journey so far and where we are heading to. Hello?
Good morning to you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And you?
I am Mr. Fine. I am Mr. Olakilani. You see, in order to avoid this so that Nigeria might move forward, we should avoid politics of hatred. First, in order to ensure continuity in governance for development. Also, our leaders should observe that development is in series. You study psychology of the people to know their level. Then you know what they need. Not that you have to start constructing towers when their level does not require that. By that, people will benefit from governance. Also, our political leaders should avoid greediness because most of the projects embarked upon are based on what they desire. That is, embarked on greedy projects that will fill their own pockets, personal pockets, without thinking about the people, about their problems, and that is it. More so, we should avoid religious discrimination. Our political leaders avoid religious discrimination in whatever they do. By all this, above all, they should ensure they should have fear of God in whatever they do.
Thank you too. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sister, good morning.
Yes.
Good morning, Tobi.
Good morning.
If you Tabi, sir.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. I'm Towulade from Abel. Good morning, sir. You've really talked, and then nobody can probably.
Hello, are you still there? Hello? Okay, we lost that call. You still have the opportunity to call back. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Auntie Chienye.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Tobi. This is
Good morning.
I'm calling from Good morning again.
Morning, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir. I've enjoyed you, sir. Nigeria. I want to say that is thing to be reviewed or talk of or any other analysis of by the older generation. But for the younger generation, they have little or nothing to say about it. This is only because they don't have the sense of history. They don't learn history. They cannot talk anything about our past leaders, their achievements. And this exercise we are having this morning should have been a collectivized one and not one-sided. Now, no doubt the struggle for Nigerian evolution really started with nationalist struggle as we have spoken of Awolowo, Amadu Bello, Balewa, etc. They truly laid the foundation for our nation. A foundation where different players are trying to put at different times, different structures. Gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stubble. But each one's work has been made manifest for the day has declined according to the scripture. So people's work are improving, are all receiving a memorial reward now. And some have made up to suffer loss and putting the country on fire. But as the Bible always says, good will always prevail over evil. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Hello, good morning. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Denny and Tobi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
May your shadow never grow less.
I'm here, sure.
May you live longer.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. Nkom from Ashiro Estate. You have spoken very, very well. I am very happy that I listened to this early morning breakfast talk. Can you see? But there is a problem.
Yes, sir.
As you rightly put, how come a country like Nigeria hasn't got an airline? And Rwanda, which is not bigger than Oyo, Ogun, or Odo, has an airline and is carrying Nigeria. We are going for a conference in Rwanda in November. All of us doctors are going to use Rwanda Air. How come Ethiopia? Without Nigerians, there will be no Ethiopian Airways. I'm sure you know that, sir. Emirates is having so much at the end of the time. In that colonial master, there is something wrong with us, sir. You talk to the Daily Times. I remember Lagos weekend when I was a student. Is that colonial masters who did it? Something is wrong with us, can't you see? We are bad. Until we now come and say we are bad. How can you give Murtala Mohammed International Airport construction to engineers from Netherlands and you don't involve Nigerians? If you see that there is something wrong with you, are they going to break and live in like that? Look at what you said about what happened. We used to have 747. I remember as a student, Nigeria always had so many 747. Where are they now? Are they sold to cabos and all that? Is that colonial master? Is it amalgamation? It's not. We are bad. And until we realize that we are bad, because what has befallen us since 1960 is because we are bad. It's not because of colonial masters. I think we should stress this. We are bad. And until we resist, because what is happening to us has happened to other people. Look at what is happening in Catalonia, in Spain. I watch it, what police were dragging people on the floor. Nobody, that's all. But in Nigeria, here we problem. We say Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, devolution. As you already said, devolution is elitist. It has nothing to do with the women in quota markets and all that. Can we see we are bad? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Isam Savanese from Agbado.
Okay, thank you for calling.
In Nigeria and Africa in general, we believe in the rule of darkness. Your Majesty, Kabir, forgive me, sir. I'd like to greet you, sir, Mr. Kabir.
Thank you.
Forgive me, sir. This is like the rule of darkness. It's better than the rule of life. You can make use of rule of life. The rule of traditional ruler will be respected. And we give them constitutional rule. State by state, local by local government, throughout the federation. This will help Nigeria to bridge the gap between the government constitutional authority and the people. Because the problem of culture, due to lack of due respect for the traditional ruler or traditional institution, causes a lot of gap between the government and the people and make the democracy practicable in Nigeria. So if the rule of life can do so for Nigeria, you see the stability required for a developing nation of Nigeria.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
We had two more calls and then he will react to what has been said. Hello, good morning. Hello, we have
Good morning, Chienye.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chienye. I believe you can hear me, man.
Yes, we can.
Good morning, Tobi.
Good morning.
Kabiyesi, good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Towulade, good morning. God bless you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank sir.
Sure.
And say happy independence and right to you, sir.
Same to you, sir.
I am Pastor Shola Makinde. I'm calling from Owu Kingdom. Okay, I'll go Wabekuta. Kabiyesi, you played a very big role in the operation of the national carrier again in Nigeria Airways. This is no more operational today. I remember those days. I really enjoyed flying this airline. Each time I travel within or outside Nigeria. Do you have any regrets, Kabiyesi? Thank you. Good morning. And God bless you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Hello. Okay, we lost that call. Hello, we have you. Okay, quickly, Kabiyesi reacts to what has been said.
I thank all the callers. Most of them really contributed rather than asking. I thought they were going to ask questions, but they contributed effectively to what we are discussing on. First and foremost, Mr. Kelani was talking about governments or leaders doing things that the people didn't need. Don't let us fall in the category of assuming much for people who are in the system. In the little position that I held in government job, I know how difficult it is when you are in government to satisfy people. We are running democracy. Any governor at all, any governor, no matter where he comes from, cannot operate single-handedly. Series of advisors, series of ministers or commissioners or whatever, they sit down together. If you follow government, they sit down together and discuss issues. And even to a larger extent, things that they do, I'm one of the advocates of the fact that before you come to any particular job, you have to study that job and know what you want to do before you can come in. I'm not pleading for any government, but I know that Abeokuta, as I said earlier, have been made a capital of Ogun State since 1976, and the capital territory of Abeokuta extends to as far as Toshiun, as far as up beyond Toshi or whatever. But for whatever reasons, every succeeding governors that have governed Ogun State had maintained little development within Abeokuta itself, not even thinking of any other place. But somebody has just come to say, are we really a state capital, or are we not, or are we a village? If we are a state capital, more so in the progress, in the current program of what they call a mega city planner, mega city carrier, that is the mega city like Lagos and Abeokuta is virtually merging. Well, I'm saying this because of my own experience as a golfer. I have been marketing Abeokuta in the last 20 years or so to say that any tourist coming to Nigeria, you should visit Abeokuta Golf Club. And if you are coming to Abeokuta Golf Club to play, I will tell them the distance. That is it's a question of 1 hour driving from the airport and get to this place. If I've been thinking like that, I will imagine that somebody else who wants to be a governor or wants to be a ruler here will think about all those infrastructure that could make such thing possible. So I'm really not saying I cannot oppose any governor who comes to Abeokuta and believes that he needs to widen the roads, you make particularly the trunk A roads that leads to international city like Lagos to be important for our economic gains. And of course, we have been saying, so politics apart, I'm not a politician and I don't want politicians to look at that issue from being a wasted effort. But agreed, the meat of governance is people living in rural areas. That is the food basket of the place. When I came to rule, to become an Oba in Akinale, I opened my eyes and see that agriculture has to be promoted by all means. Many people produce rice, cassava, yam, so people can eat. I created a market within my system. I asked farmers to do something. So government has to help them by putting a lot of infrastructure there to be able to work together. And this is the most important thing. They don't need to go to any school to go and learn that kind of thing. That's why I'm saying that the government should do more by calling people, the local people around them, and then see how they can develop. Good thing you have done something for the city, go into the right direction and go and do something. There's somebody talking, the gentleman talking about all of us being bad. Yes, there's nothing you can do about that. All of us cannot be as good as he probably thinks he should be. But what I said about colonial masters is that the colonial people, when they were living in Nigeria, they had their plan. They had studied the three regions, so to say at that time, and they knew where the weakness. When you swap, you do this swap analysis. They know where the weakness is, and they see for us to remain a country, for them to be able to get what they want, the situation has to be as it were. But then we have developed on our own. We have seen how we want to develop our own. We should disallow rancor and unnecessary rat race within ourselves, and make sure that at least we develop things within our region so that we can master. I mean, look at how they developed the cocoa industry in those days. My father was planting cocoa, and I don't know why cocoa should be limited in our system today. It is because we have allowed ourselves to be involved in the buy and selling. How should Nigeria continue to be a kind of shopping center for everybody now? Even including government, look at them, they build shops here and there. You see the Toku for best thing that the government is here. Shops. What are they going to market? Nobody is planning of how they will make a gari, how to make sugar, how to make. But putting everybody go to market and go and bring a trouser and shirt and what do women call bend down something, that kind of that bend down select. It's not proper for us. Again, I don't want to go into what religion has turned us into. Every factory in this country has become a warehouse has become a church. If the more church we have in this country can make us to develop, it's a different case, but we are not. We are not. It's a pity. I'm a Christian, but I'm not saying that they should not, but our focus on those things is is beyond the point. So we need to research ourselves, internalize a lot of things, and then think proper and see how we can get ourselves together. For national airline, of course, we've discussed that before, Mr. Dr. Onkem. In those days, I said earlier, in fact, I keep on quarreling with Baba each time he says that when he was leaving, he left 29 aircraft and there. So Nigeria didn't sell the aircraft. No management in Nigeria can on his own sell Nigeria with aircraft. The government sold them, and they had to sell them because of the management principles. Reason was that the F-27 and F-28 were the larger number of the aircraft Nigeria had at that time, and when things were developing, some part of the country were rejecting the F-28. In fact, we had an accident in 1978 or 79, an F-28 in Enugu. Only for Dr. what's his name now, Diko, to go on the air to say stop flying F-28 to Enugu. It became a political issue without even asking the Nigerians what are the technical reasons why we are flying. And at that time, F-28 was one of the safest aircraft that we could fly, and including the traffic, everything. And so the F-28 was withdrawn from the flight. Nigerian government dashed F-27 aircraft to Sao Tome and some other countries like that. They didn't put all that into consideration. They say as if the airline or people in the airline just sold the aircraft off. So these are the things. We need to study, you plan exactly how you want to run an airline and let private person come into it. Again, even Virgin, when Virgin was coming to Nigeria, he sold a blanket to Nigerian government. Oh, when I come, when I remember this device, I laugh. I was an uninvited guest at the president's visit in London, year 2000, something like that. And the Virgin was coming. Chikwe, former minister, carried this man. Everybody was running up and down with Virgin. When I come, Nigeria, flight to Nigeria will be cheaper. Hey, I said this thing, as if Nigeria was going to be isolated from all that happens all over the world. I said, everybody bought the thing, and said, where is Virgin today? It has gone because the system in Nigeria will not allow him to do what he should want to do. So we need to sit down together and realign ourselves and plan. There are so many experts in this country that can run the airline very effectively. There are people who have studied, who have worked, who have done plenty of them in this country, but just let it be devoid of politics, let it be devoid of tribe, let it be devoid of any group, and pick people to do something. They will do it better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's check the tweets and messages and go back to the calls. For the tweets, we have this from Saka Raman Olayode. Happy Independence Anniversary to Nigeria. 57 years no be joko. I wish Nigeria become a developed country because we're still underdeveloped. Then to all the good leaders, all their prayers will be answered by God. And then we'll have a great nation and good people. Then we have this one from Adedayo Adeyemi. The problem of this country is just too much hunger for power and not the responsibility aspect of it. Our leaders are not competent enough. All they do in their government is trial and error system. No plan to get the masses out of their challenges. Yemi Da Vinci, Kabiesi, I pray I am as lucid and erudite as Kabiesi when I also get a degree in my 70s. Okay, our independence anniversary should be a moment of reflection on mistakes of the past and lessons for the future. If we think very well and we're sincere with ourselves, we'll agree that only the way Nigeria can move forward is through restructuring. Just like MMA was built to make stealing very easy, so is the present Nigerian system designed for all that. Okay, Popola Samson, listening to Kabisi has shown that we are getting it better at choosing our traditional rulers than our politicians. Quitters. Now, Yemi Da Vinci again, we have had so much failure in this country, and many of it is due to how we are as a people. We need to answer tough questions. Okay, Tobi, messages.
All right. Okay, I think.
Okay, we go back to the calls while you
Let's go back to the calls. This one is still
loading.
All right, let's take this one. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good morning,
Good morning, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. I just went over to Baba Pelete.
Amio.
Olori Abisha Islam.
I shall.
Really enjoyed you. I'm a large GP of Jenica from Abeokuta, sir.
Okay.
I'm so impressed as a Nigerian and as one of your subjects with the way you have presented issues and the way you have spoken, sir. More grace to your power, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I think the foundation laid by the founding fathers of this country. You see, in development, I think the little I know is that things will continue to be upgraded. So the mindset of those leaders, so there were different leaders and different education they got. But I think if we build on their foundation, Nigeria will not be like it. The successive leaders have not done the best to help this country. So for me as a person, when people say Nigeria is overpopulated, I don't believe that. I think we are about 1/5 of the population of China, and there is a great development because of the unity of purpose and understanding. But for me, as a person, as an individual, I want to suggest, whether you would like it or not, sir, that this bottom-up approach should be emphasized by our leaders. Because most of the development, as rightly said, the rural areas, there is a lot of power, energy, stuff in that space that is yet to be developed. So I think for me, I'm seeing that a new strategy will develop. That is this bottom-up approach. So
Okay.
kindly give your own view, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. 0809-868-7344 or 0909-146-9670. Hello? Hello?
Hello, good morning, my sister and yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning, my cabinet.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yes, long may you reign. My name is Olubori. We are calling from both the Olubori and Abeokuta.
Okay.
Nigeria has moved forward from age to machineries. My only advice to our governor is that they will they will try as much as possible to cater for the masses, especially at the grassroots. The workers are working, they don't pay them. Only educate women, sorrow, not to work. My benefit. Yes, only educate women, sorrow, not to work. Yes, like benefit now. They are going to embark on work to rule action as from tomorrow, which should not be. So that is a setback for this country. What we have advanced so far is that in Nigeria today, there are more criminality, Boko Haram, IPOB, kidnapping here and there than about 30 or 40 years ago. Killing of human beings was not very common by then, but today it's very, very rampant. So that's my take this morning. God may you raise, sir.
Thank you.
God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Hello?
Okay, 0809-868-7344 or 0909-146-9670. Hello? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Good morning, Kabiyesi.
Good morning, sir. Sure.
Honestly, no doubt about it. You have spoken well, sir.
Can we have your name?
Some of us, my name is from Abantuku.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, some of us that we are not that aged, that we have gone through the history, we can appreciate some of your submission.
Yeah.
But I want to ask that even at the early 80s and of course 90s, things were not as bad as this. We know the traditional rulers and traditional institutions are well powerful. Where does that power, where does it get missing? At that point, at which point does the traditional ruler now have to submit to the government to try to empower their community. Because currently we are expecting that the government should now come to the aid of traditional rulers before some things to be done. Where exactly does that power get missing? We can see government dethroning traditional rulers trying to do passport. Where does that power get missing, sir? That's the only question I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's take one more call. We add the messages and we allow KBC to react. Hello.
Hello?
Hello, good morning, Tobi. Good morning, my sister.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, my name is Honorable Jagi. I'm calling from the People's Parliament in Abeokuta. I think from today I want to disagree not too long to roll. If KBC could still be in the 70s, having the passion of this country has had and is talking the way he's talking today because his submission, I think the elderly wants to still be giving our opportunity to be in the very corridor of power so that they can train the younger ones when they are in power. KBC, I want to give it to you, sir.
Thank you.
But I believe in one thing, fundamental thing, is that it is the interest, the love of the country that you people had when you were younger that made you to give what you were able to give, to the country while you were serving Nigeria Airways. What we needed, sincerity of purpose, sincerity of mind, and just loving this country as one. And one thing I think is to always remember is that you are going to die one day. You know you are going to die one day. You don't need all this, unnecessary masses. Massing. It doesn't need it. Do your best and be able to give. I can't meet your Lord. You're going to be able to judge you very well. Let me allow other people to call. God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ali. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let me quickly add the messages. KBC, then we have your reaction. What Nigeria urgently needs is visionary and realistic democratic people's constitution via elected non-partisan constituent assembly of equal delegates on federal senatorial constituencies under referendum for a 21st century Nigeria. Anything else is a recipe for chaos. KBC, Cosmos from People Center sent in that one. Alright, this one says, good morning, KBC. Sir, as an Oba, how would you compare your social life now and then? Is there any restriction attached in this respect? Still Cosmos from Goshen Estate. I agree with KBC, he has spoken well, but do you think it is possible again to re-establish British Airways in Nigeria in the presence of these Jeguru Jera politicians? That's Pius from Chienye. KBC, Your Highness, what would you consider the unique public relations sling point for Nigeria? How do you assess the public utterances? How do you assess the public utterances of our leaders? Oladoshu sent in that one. KBC, Kiadepolori Kibata Penese. But sir, as KBC, do you think what is going on in Ibadan is right? That's Pius from Chienye. KBC, to what extent would you say the Nigerian media today are patriotic and nationalistic as the pre and post independence? Oladoshu is asking that one. KBC, don't you think lack of maintenance culture, selfishness, and lack of fear of God are the major familiar spirits troubling us in Nigeria? That's Tunde Omolaolu. Good morning, KBC. Kadepolori sir. As an Oba, okay, I think you sent a message twice. Cosmos. KBC, your reactions.
Thank you very much for those who contribute so far. Larry, I thank you so much. I have always liked hearing you on radio every morning as a matter of routine, wherever you come from. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. I will just touch briefly on a number of things that people said. The power or whatever you consider as erosion of traditional rulers' power, somebody said, is not new. If you recall, particularly, I think what affects here in Abeokuta must have equally affected other people. If you recall that I said earlier that Egwuonwu was a government on its own in those days, from 1883 to 1914. But the German War, which because one British officer was passing through Ajura area to Ugere, and for whatever he saw as a disturbance on the road. He has the ballet there, or the head of the village there, to come and clear it. And the man said, look, it's only Alake who could instruct him to come. And he took that man and decided to give him corporal punishment, dragging him on the road, and eventually that man died. And he created the German war. It is the German war that the Alake at that time couldn't handle, that he advised or he requested for the assistance of the colonial people to send him troops to come and quell the war. And that's the beginning. That's the beginning of how the government has eroded into the power of every traditional ruler. That has started all the constitutions or the law or the chieftaincy laws that the governor of any state is the bona fide traditional ruler by law today. The governor has the power to appoint or take away. Before we start here, see what happened to Dasuki in Sokoto. It was the local government chairman that reported to the governor, and the governor removed the man. That's all. Even though it was not the same thing happened to Olowo for in those days. The same thing will happen to Awujale during the time of Onabanjo, but for the coup that came by, Awujale would have been removed. Those are the powers that the governor had. But up to now, it has now been changed. So the Obas live at the mercy of the government or the governor or the state. But be that as it is, what we are saying is that it is only the traditional ruler that knows the feeling of the people down below. That they should empower them, they should make them be they are the custodian of their culture. And what is really happening to us today is that we've lost the culture and the value of a typical African man. And let me come back home of the Yoruba people. About 4 weeks ago, I held a seminar for the Obas in Ebarand. And what instructed me to do that is just what we are saying now. I noticed that Yoruba language, we have lost it and is virtually dying off. A nation that loses its own language is not existing. So I call the Obas that there is need for you to revamp your system and enhance the development of Yoruba language, culture, and our values. If you had all those things, all this noise we are talking about, people stealing gold, stealing money. If those of you who remember in those days when we were young, when we were going to schools, you stretch out your fingers on the field in the school. The teacher will inspect all your fingers and see the dirt under it, and use the ruler to beat your hand to say why is it dirty, or your hair, or put his index finger to rub your chest and see whether you take a bath or not. Those are the way we were trained. Those are things that are no longer existing today. So unless we go back to the roots and reorientate ourselves and re-engineer ourselves to bring the culture of the people back to life, all this noise we are making about the senators behaving something, it will not work. And let me tell you one thing. Whether I told this story somewhere one day. One lawyer told me that it's a tribal deal. Somebody stole my cable from my transformer in my village. Transformer. And we couldn't find it. We just woke up in the morning, we noticed that there was no light. I thought it was just NEPA that took up light, only for me to discover that it was some robbers had come in. And the transformer is right in the city. It's not on the main road. So I now said it will be difficult for any outsider to come to that place to steal the wire, except those people in the village. I asked everybody, all the elders, I called them. There's nobody said, they said nobody knows. Okay, if you don't know, no problem. Tomorrow, Thursday, I want everybody to assemble at the square. We had a square meeting where my forefathers were staying those days. When they are going for hunting, they will beat the affiliate there, everybody will come. So I said, there, we meet. So I brought my father's gun, put water in it, shake it, put it in a cup. I asked my wife to drink a cup. My son took one, and I took myself. I said, everybody line up, come and take this water. Anybody who do. So someone was there, can you see? I just saw you know, I just saw, let them drink this thing. There and then, they called the meeting and told me who stole the thing. I got the money, I got them punished, I took the money for the cable, we repaired it, we paid NEPA, we paid everybody, and I asked the police to give them community punishment by holding the whole area. That can only happen where you revert to your culture. They go to assembly, they say, I'm a Christian, this is the Bible, all this I've said, may God, so help me God. And God will help, but it will take time. Ask him to come and swear on Shago or Ogun. I'm from Ogun family. My name is Ogunleye. those are the culture that we need to improve. That's all.
Alright, Kabisi, thank you very much. It's been wonderful having you on the Daybreak Show this beautiful Monday morning, a special edition of the show because we are looking at 57th Independence Anniversary. We appreciate you, Kabisi, for honoring our invitation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All those who called, those who contributed, and via the social media or via the short code. Enjoy the day. I am Tobi Joseph.
And I am Chienye Egwuonwu. Thank you so much for always being there.